if anyone, if it was like, all right, you can do it again or something different, I still go Berkeley.
We would go back to, dude. We could do a whole. We'd have to do another podcast.
Sebastian's trying to go back to Berkeley.
Yeah, I know.
I don't blame
It's just like it was so. The environment is It's like being at a festival where you're friends with everyone who's amazing. It's kind of hard to explain. And I call it
the Hogwarts of music.
It's nuts. Yeah.
That's that's how I feel about it. It's like I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
The Hogwarts because not everyone does the same type of thing. Everyone is better when you go to Juilliard or go to those are obviously better schools. And him and I are not gonna put the Curtis Institute in Philly. Those are better schools, but you have to do X and Y when you're in class. There's classical or there's jazz. Berkeley is not that. We talked about this before.
They should have a sorting hat and put it on your head, and they're like, "You are a blues musician." And, yeah,
I sure wish they would have done that because I would have gone a different way if they would have done that. I feel like I went the wrong way when I got there, but that's for another time.
Brian, what were you gonna say?
Robben Ford, Larry Carlton, Sam Bush. These are all people that you've worked for before. So. Super awesome to be able to work for these people. How do you find yourself coming in connection with these guys? I always find people talking about like people always tell you, they have X, Y, and Z. I did this and this, and then all of a sudden I was working for these people. They never tell you what's in between, So how did you end up meeting these guys and working for them?
It starts at Berkeley, actually.
Mine starts at Berkeley, so that's actually kind of a perfect segue. So it was like 2016 or so. It all started kind of with a Robben connection. Sebastian, was that the first time you saw Robben live? Was in 2016.
Yeah, it was so
me too.
Insane.
So there was a concert.
It was so loud. Oh,
it was so loud and amazing. So it was 2016. I was supposed to go home. I worked stage crew at Berkeley. It was my student employment job. So I asked to work that show. I emailed my boss specifically. I'm like, I want to see this guitar player. I've heard a lot about him. I didn't really know him that well. Like, I didn't know any of his music really, even at that point. Like I've heard about him. I've seen him a little bit. And so I stayed an extra week. I was supposed to go home, see my family, but I was like, I'm going to stay an extra week, do this thing. And I did, and I ran monitors for the show. So I got to like interact with Robben and his tech, Rick Wheeler, the whole day. Because it was like he did a clinic in the morning, and then he did the show at night. And the whole time I was running monitors. So I talked to Rick a little bit, and I kind of went above and beyond a little bit. Like I'm not in charge of like going down and seeing if they need something, but before I left for like lunch, I was like, "Do you guys need something?" And Robben's like, "Oh, could you give me a coffee?" Which is my job. And I was like, "Sure, what the heck?" I can say I bought Robben Ford a coffee, even though that we didn't like sit down and have a coffee, but it's not wrong,
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
So so I did that, and then afterward, I had a ball, man. I talked to Robben and Rick a lot, and I didn't know anything about Dumble at that point either. He was playing his black Dumble. And I took photos of it, too. I was like, I know this is a thing. So I took photos of that, took photos of his pedal board. And I asked Rick about it a bunch. I was probably annoying the crap out of Rick. I was trying to be respectful and a little cool, which I probably wasn't at all. But maybe respectful, not cool. So after the show, Rick he was like, what are your plans for when you graduate? Because I still had one more year at Berkeley. And I was like, I don't know. I think I'm going to move to LA. Was my plan. Because one of my roommates was going to move there, and that's kind of like the natural migration. Is you either go to Nashville or you go to. I mean, that's not always true, but like generally, it's LA or Nashville or New York, I guess.
Fair.
Yeah. So he was like, you should consider Nashville, and I was like, okay. So I went to NAMM. I think the first time that winter, and I was like, I went around LA, and I just didn't like it. And Rick was there. Working at the Taylor booth. He was running sound. And so I went up to him and was like, I don't really love LA. I just checked it out like literally like 2 days ago or whatever. And I was like, I don't like it. He's like, I have a job for you still in Nashville if you want to, because then I had only a semester left by that point. And I was like, okay, I'll move to Nashville. So I moved to Nashville, and the job that was open was working with Sam Bush.
Oh, awesome.
Was running monitors.
Right.
And the most Nashville story I have was I flew to town from Boston. Rick was like, all right, I'll pick you up somewhere, but I'm busy until this time. Can you like Uber somewhere and I'll pick you up in town? Because he lives really far south of town. And so I Ubered to Carter's because, why not? And when I got there, Vince Gill was in there, and I've never met Vince before. And I was walking around, and just like people like swarmed him, and I just waited for people to kind of like leave him alone for a second. I was like, hi, like, you know, I don't know. I don't remember what I
Robben
said.
Ford
It was
coffee.
not smooth. Yeah, yeah, it was not smooth at all. And then he was like, do you live here? What are you doing? And I was like, I'm working my first gig with this guy in town. Do you know who this guy is? Sam Bush. And they've known each other for like years. And Sam walked in to buy a wah pedal or something, like a mini wah pedal. And Vince Gill was like, Sam, come over here. Let me introduce you to your new sound guy. So that's how I met Sam, was Vince
That's crazy.
That's
introduced
awesome.
me to Sam at Carter's.
Wow.